Alright guys, welcome at last to Legendary Banner Predictions of December 2018. This will be our last one for this year. With that comes probably more inconsistency than I'm used to, honestly, with Legendary Banners. Lately, they've kind of gone with a lot of changes when it comes to these Legendary Banners. They've kind of been skipping ahead on a lot of this stuff, like for instance, in the previous banner, we had something like Levitine show up much earlier than I would have expected. So going forward, I'm just going to assume that even really recent units, even up to a month ago, could show up on these Legendary Banners. So yeah, that's one thing I'm definitely considering. I'm not going to write it as a note in my Legendary Banner predictions, because it might just have been a one-off just to fill out the red in the previous Legendary Banner. Either way, we're still going to follow a subset amount of rules that I feel still is predictable within every single Legendary Banner, and we're going to be following those rule sets to do our best to predict everything that comes going forward. So with that being said, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, I'm going to go through the rules and then I'll go list off every single unit and we'll summarize it at the end. I'll also give you my impressions on how I think the banner will be compared to maybe some previous Legendary Banners and what you should probably consider preparing yourself for. So, duplicates, triples, and so far have been Brave heroes, a lot of colorless heroes like Innes, and Sigurd and Micaiah. There have only been 5-star exclusives that have shown up on these Legendary Banners. Not all of them have been shown. For example, Mist is the only colorless 5-star exclusive that didn't show, and probably for a good reason, because nobody wants Mist, except maybe like 3 people in the world. Beyond that point, there's one legendary hero of every color on these Legendary Banners. However, recently we did have 2 on one, which was Ryoma sharing with Hrid. I think also next month it's confirmed that Erica will share with Ike, Legendary Ike. So we can also expect that maybe there will be some Legendary and Mythic heroes sharing in the future. We know that Mythic heroes are going to alternate with Legendary heroes going forward. We're going to get brand new Legendary, brand new Mythic, Legendary, Mythic, and so forth. So based on that and the news and the notifications that we received, Air will show up in colorless. We know this already for this Legendary Banner, but we also know that we're probably gonna get a brand new Legendary hero. I don't see them releasing a Legendary Banner without some sort of hype, and new heroes tend to do that. So if anything, I would predict that we would get a new Legendary hero this specific month. And I'll tell you which color I think it'll be, but that'll be for later in the video. With that being said, we've also have a brand new established rule of 3 seasonals. This is, I mean, it's not new anymore. It's been happening a couple of months now, but we used to have 4 seasonals per banner. Now it's 3. And this is probably to just decrease the amount of seasonals per Legendary Banner, just in case they skip a month, because I don't think we even had any sort of special heroes for November. So this kind of makes it more evenly paced. They also don't really double up on seasonals. They kind of spread them out, one of each color. And they don't generally double up on new heroes. This is not always true. We did see, I believe, Elysian Travelers Olivia and Sumia on one Legendary Banner. That came as a bit of a surprise to me, but usually they don't. And it doesn't mean that it can't happen. It's just something I don't expect them to do, because it really does devalue anyone who really saw that banner when it comes out, and then you're just like, why would I summon on that when you can get more value for Legendary Banners? Like, anyone who's really thinking about how they want to spend their orbs, that would be the best way to do it. Also, I think the Legendary Banners tend to be more evenly spread in terms of what they provide. So that's usually stuff like movement types, magical damage, physical damage, and such. So expect them to kind of even out things. And this is how I do my predictions overall. Okay. I don't try to predict Legendary heroes. I did in the past, but what I'm gonna do now is pretty much just predict Legendary heroes and now Mythic heroes overall. Hrid came as a bit of a surprise to me, but on the other hand, he didn't really, because we had like sound files that got data mined for him, and we had art, so we kind of saw it coming because there's nothing else beyond him that could have really happened. Water, wind, and such. We do know that the Legendary hero coming up should be water to match with the season. That's about as good as it gets. But yeah, I've listed out a couple Legendary Mythic heroes. I used to actually have Micaiah and Celica, for instance, in my Legendary hero candidates, but I've decided to split them from Legendary because I think they make better mythic hero candidates. And the reason for that is because they're tome users. And if you look at the legendary heroes, we actually don't have any legendary heroes that are tome users, except for Gunthra. But Gunthra is probably an odd case. Everyone else has pretty much used physical weapons. So I think mythic and mythic heroes overall are probably going to introduce a lot of these tome users, magical users beyond maybe like legendary Tiki and whatnot. So that's my prediction here. I think they're going to throw us more of those kind of magical heroes. We'll see. Either way, Elwood, Seliph, Sigurd, Leaf, Xander, Sura, Corrin, Alm, Chrom, Roy, Micaiah, Celica. These are all kind of characters I wouldn't be surprised to see as legendary or mythic heroes. What I personally would like to see more of as well would probably be something like the actual gods and deities from original Fire Emblem stories. So if we see some Duma, if we see some Mila, Naga, those kind of characters would be pretty cool to spice things up. And maybe if they had a little bit more confidence in their OCs, they tend to go with like Fjorm, Hrid, and I think Gunthra were the only ones. Yogurt got denied a legendary hero status. So we'll see if maybe they get a little more confidence in that, maybe with some of the OCs from book 3. We'll see. Okay, so first up on legendary heroes, we're going to have Red. I'll go through just what we have for remaining candidates for 5-star exclusives, and then we'll go through the confirmed legendary hero plus my predictions, of course. So in Red, we have the old considerations, as you guys can see here, and we have new considerations, also labeled with the number of 6. New considerations are basically 5-star exclusives that are more recent, and old ones are pretty much like 2017 units or older that haven't really shown up on a legendary banner. So if they wanted to throw us an oddball, maybe they would throw in like a 2017 5-star exclusive. There have been a few that do show up, like Azura or Young Tiki. Those are probably based on popularity though, so I don't expect somebody like Luke or maybe even Saber to show up as 5-star exclusives on legendary banners, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. I'll just list them here for the sake of it. Anyways, more likely to happen is obviously what I've shown here in the new considerations. Those are 5-star exclusives we're more likely to see. So yeah, first legendary hero confirmed is legendary Marth, as you guys can see on the left there. He is definitely confirmed for this month, so he'll finally be returning. That's good for him. I know he's really popular. He's also a decent unit. Honestly, in my opinion, I'd consider him kind of like a better Ira that serves the team a bit better, gives lots of buffs, support, and decent fodder as well. So Marth is a pretty cool unit, but unfortunately both Ira and legendary Marth, beyond that capability and being infantry, don't really provide much as a unit. So yeah, poor Marth, but cool nonetheless. More offensive for those of you that don't want to use Marth as a support unit. My first unit besides Marth on the red pool for a legendary banner, I feel would be Summer Young Tiki. So Summer Young Tiki is a unit that's, first of all, makes sense to be alongside Marth, but second of all, is a magical unit and a pretty popular unit overall, not only for people that want to add merges to her, but she's got very, very strong, like the preference weapon, steady breath built in, great unit for wind sweep builds, flyer, dragon. Definitely overall really good unit, and it is about time that they start showing stuff like that, so I would definitely expect her to make an appearance now. Besides Tiki, I also expect Flora to be shown now. So just like I said earlier, I feel like they're going to skip ahead on some units. So like, I don't think Brave Celica will show up here. I feel like Flora is more likely to show up, but that isn't totally guaranteed. If I don't see Flora here, I wouldn't be surprised to see Legyarn as well. Flora seems like a good unit to throw at us here because the solo skills are likely to start showing up as maybe seals or even fodder, since they're going to run through most of the bonds now, and I feel like solos are after that, or shortly after that. So it's a good way to just push them out and maybe give people the opportunity for fodder through somebody like Flora. So yeah, I do feel like Flora, Tiki, and Marth make up a pretty good red pool that way. Moving on, in blue, we have confirmed that Fjorm is going to be returning. Fjorm is amazing, and not because she's a good unit. Fjorm is amazing because she's in the arena bonus unit rotation. So because she's in the arena bonus rotation, you should have Fjorm, and you should have a merge Fjorm if you feel like you need to compete in tier 21, for instance, or tier 20.5. A merge Fjorm makes your arena seasons really easy, And if you haven't saved orbs for Fjorm, it's probably a good idea to do it. However, be careful. One thing I want to mention is that I feel like Fjorm may get totally kicked out of the arena bonus unit rotation. And the reason I say this is because Book 2 is over and Book 3 is here. So with Book 3 being here, there is a chance that Air takes her spot as arena bonus unit. However, it would seem a little bit odd to me because Air provides light blessings which are not used in arena. So don't hold me to that, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. And right now, Fjorm is a really not confident investment, but nonetheless, if nothing changes, she is a good investment. And even with all the memes I have associated with her, she does clear PvE content pretty well and has had some good moments in arena. So overall, decent option. Next up for blue, I believe it's time for us to have Escamilla make an appearance. So Escamilla's a strange unit. I think she's just a slightly better version of Summer Corrin with a bit more stats and a more offensive spread, but that's pretty much it. Escamilla's obviously here to sell to people that, well, you know why. Anyways, she's a good unit, but she's just better as Summer Corrin. So if you already had Summer Corrin, then you probably don't need to have her. And of course, if you have a Blade Mage like a Versa, and you've been merging her Versa, and you gave her like a Roar Blade, she pretty much can substitute there as well. She does have amazing fodder though, in my opinion, and that's where you really can stand out with Escamilla. Escamilla has Juicy Wave. She has Honed Fires, I believe, but that's not really the most important thing to get from her. Juicy Wave is why you would really want Escamilla. The Juicy Wave is an interesting weapon that makes it so you can use Desperation strictly off the weapon, and you don't have to commit a B slot for it. So you can do some really nice shenanigans with this, especially combined with something like Bold Fighter on, let's say, Armored Lyn. And if we were to get any other blue armors in the future, having a Juicy Wave fodder for that particular unit is some pretty disgusting things you can do. It's like a tome that lets you Brave Bow if you can meet its conditions, and then you also have the Seal slot open. So that's something really unique to Escamilla's fodder. Okay, beyond her, I do think it's time for Quan to make an appearance. Now, Quan is, I honestly think he's kind of like a better Silas. I don't really think he's like the best unit in the game or anywhere close to it. And honestly, if you had like an Oscar merged up, you can accomplish some similar things to what Quan gives to you. But the thing is, he's got good fodder, really good fodder. So he's got Drive Attack. You don't really need it though, because Grumarth is available as a fodder grail option. And of course, what really does make him stand out is probably his double rally plus. Now, the reason I think he's going to show up, and similar to Flora, is, well, Flora, if they're going to probably make solo skills more available, what they want to do is kind of push out the double rally pluses also being pushed out sooner rather than later. And I expect them to show up on Tempest Trials units or GHB units once the new year rolls around. They'll probably make them more available through GHBs or Tempest Trials. So that's why I think Quan will likely show up now as Legendary Banner unit, so that he has his value now, but after the new year when that sort of skill availability comes in, he probably won't have as much value, and as a result, this is the time they would entice people to be spending for blue. Other than that though, blue is okay. If you're kind of like targeting unique builds or fodder, I think blue will get the job done. Okay, and probably the most anticipated thing beyond maybe Marth is Legendary Hector making a return. So Legendary Hector is confirmed in the green. Unfortunately for Legendary Hector, I don't believe he's going to have as good options sharing with him as he did in the previous times he showed up. And, well, the reason for that is if you look at the other candidates here, they're not that good. Whether it's the old units, none of them really have good fodder, and even the newer ones don't look too good. And the reason I don't think, well, except maybe like Brave Ephraim, Lewin, and maybe Alencia saving the day, but the thing is, I don't think they'll show up, and not till later at least. And the reason for it is obviously Hector by himself carries green with having distant counter and just being one of the best legendary heroes, if not one of the best units in the game. So if you're ready to unfortunately pull some less quality units, yeah, expect to see somebody like Nino here. So Nino is, I wouldn't call her like the worst thing to share with Hector, probably comparable to somebody like Myrrh, but Nino has aerobatics and that's still unique to her. So at least for like really good fodder, that's good. And she's also a good standalone unit. but it's not really a type of unit you want to pull multiple copies of unless you really take advantage of flyer mobility and mixed team comps, and that's pretty specific. So yeah, you don't really want maybe too many copies of Nino while you're pulling for Hector, so that's kind of unfortunate. I think somebody like Brave Ike really did carry Hector in the previous banners, and it's unfortunate to see that. Now, and this is kind of important, the next unit I predict is Brave Ephraim, but not really, and I'll tell you why. Not really. So, between Brave Ephraim, this is probably my least confident option here. The reason I don't think somebody like Brave Ephraim would even show up, but if it did, I think it would be here, is because I think the legendary hero that comes through this banner is likely to be green or colorless. And hear me out on this. So I think like Air is already showing up in colorless, and maybe they don't really want people to be pulling colorless too much with the brand new legendary hero in colorless, and then Air is also there, and people still probably want Air, whether they realize the potential of having her in Ether Raid scoring. So if anything, they probably want to put in a brand new green legendary hero, but maybe not so good that it would share with Hector and provide so much value. So even though green is pretty good here, like if Ephraim was here, it'd be pretty good, but Nino alone kind of makes this one a lot worse. I don't think green is like totally awful, and I still think that Ephraim would show up, and that's why I give it here a prediction. It's because if they don't provide like a new legendary hero, I think Ephraim takes this spot pretty handedly. Lowen ended up being on the Hero Fest recently. Hellbindi was literally on a 2-person banner with Legiarn, which is why I don't think Legiarn would show up earlier in red. And Surtur, of course, just made his appearance. I don't think he'll come back. If anything, Nino might be replaced by Olwen, or even Nino and Olwen are here together. And that would make green pretty disastrous. So honestly, this is probably our best case scenario for seeing green, and this is hopefully what they choose to go with if they want people pulling green. Okay, with that being said, finally we have colorless. And we do have it confirmed that Air is going to be here taking one of the slots on colorless out of 3 potential units. Colorless is an interesting thing. I didn't see Takumi get rerun with the close counter fodder, and honestly Takumi's not even shown up as fodder for a long time, and close counter has some good value lately. If you've been playing Ether Raids, close counter like mages are really good. Something like Julius, I've been using Air with close counter, for instance. They do a lot of work. So seeing like Takumi would be, and I've predicted him a couple times, I don't think he'll show up anymore because it's too close to seeing like Hoshiden Xander show up, and he's got even better fodder than Takumi, and Hoshiden Xander should show up. But the thing is, I don't think Xander shows up yet. I think it's going to be either Takumi or even Lind. I'm more opting for Takumi to show up over Lind, but I don't doubt the possibility of Lind showing up. The reason I say Takumi though is because he's a bow user. And due to him being a bow user, it kind of adds that flexibility in the type of weapon types they have here. So here's Takumi. Fishy bow is also a really good weapon of fodder. He's also got, I think, odd res wave, which is unique to him, but who really cares about that? The wave skills are kind of hit and miss. So yeah, Summer Takumi, good fodder. And finally, the last unit that I think would show up here would be Loki. Okay, so for any of you that have actually been playing some Ether Raids, I cannot understate the value of how good Loki is as a unit. Thok became like a staff that I thought was a pretty interesting gimmick to being probably one of the best weapons in the game for being able to take down Ether Raids. And I think, especially if Intelligent Systems does analyze their own gameplay, they probably realize how good Loki is. And because Loki hasn't reappeared since her debut banner, I think there's a good chance she'll show up here as a legendary hero. But of course, hear me out, just as I mentioned earlier, there's a good chance they either give us a brand new colorless legendary hero or a brand new green legendary hero. So if they did give us a colorless legendary hero, I would expect Loki to get benched from the colorless. But if that's not the case, then I think Loki shows up. That's pretty much it. And there's also maybe a chance that Brave Veronica shows up in colorless, but I don't think it's her time just yet. And honestly, it probably makes me kind of hesitant to see Brave Veronica because I know most people would jump into that knowing that Brave Veronica is so good for something like Ether Raid's defenses. And overall, just a really good PvE unit. So I don't think this banner would sell it. They probably want to push it on something better. Okay, with that being said, let's take a look at our units overall. So starting from the beginning, Legendary Marth, Summer Young Tiki, Flora, Fjorm, Summer Camilla, Quan, Legendary Hector, SF Nino, Brave Ephraim, Air, Summer Tsukumi, and Loki. So overall, I'd say I'm most confident in my red and blue predictions and less confident in green colorless because I feel like a legendary hero would show up over there in green colorless to share with them. More likely probably in colorless, but again, it's hard to really say. If this banner does come into existence, you're going to likely want to summon blue for fodder, but green could also be decent if Ephraim shows up there. You probably want to avoid something like colorless unless you're playing for very specific reasons. Like for instance, colorless would be really good if you play Ether Raids and you wanted Loki as a one-off and Air for multiple copies or merges if you kind of missed your chance from the Hero Fest. Summer Tsukumi with Fishy Bow can also open up some crazy possibilities on Ether defense. As well, if you're looking for some pretty decent fodder, you got here in red with Marth having Infantry Flash, which is better than the other infantry skill that Noir had because it checks speed, which is a much easier condition than attack is, at least on the enemy phase. Of course, Summer Young Tiki, pretty good as well. And of course, that's pretty much it, I would say. I'm not super confident, as I said, as maybe some of the previous legendary banners because honestly, they've kind of changed a lot of ways to do this, and they kind of show in more recent units as well. Sometimes they throw off some mysteries and give us some 2017 units, but overall I think we can walk into this legendary banner being maybe better than the previous two we've had, because having returnees like the legendary Marth, Hector for instance, Fjorm for Arena, Air for Ether Raids, it's going to already kind of sell itself based on the legendary heroes and the mythic heroes. And the fact that we're entering the new summer units plus the Hoshiden summer units, which would come after, some really good fodders to come. In fact, if Hoshiden summer units start showing up the banner after, that's gonna be amazing because you can combine it with somebody like Win or Cecilia who can use all of those daggers really well, especially for some good stuff. So maybe consider saving orbs for that. But me, I'm probably skipping. I've already spent most of mine on Air, and hopefully this helped out some of you guys that are watching. Feel free to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the content, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave your comments below on what you think would show up, and if it did, why would you be pulling for it? What exactly is your reason to be pulling for these units? Is there anything you are actually looking forward to maybe in a month or two, or even this legendary banner? Let me know what you're saving for. Alright guys, that's it for me. Love you all. Peace.